This podcast is part of the Spoon Podcast Network, home of smart conversations that feed your mind.
All right, welcome back to Spoonful of AI, the podcast about AI and how it intersects with bunches of businesses, which is a new tagline I just came up with. Bunches of businesses. We see how AI works with different companies, especially in the food tech sector. And today we're talking with Henrique. How you doing, buddy?
Very good. Thank you, Carlos, for having me. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be part about the podcast today.
Yeah, well, we're happy to have you and to talk about AI and data and things you're doing over there with Crisp. There's a lot to talk about, but I thought we'd get started on something we talked about pre-show, which was, data is super important. A lot of people right now are talking about AI in everything, but we also have to talk about the data first, right? And what is AI anyhow, and all the different softwares that we're using, but, collection of data and parsing it in different ways. So maybe just tell the listeners a little bit about how you work with data over there.
Yeah, no, 100%. Telling a little bit about the history of Crisp, right? Crisp right at the beginning had this whole this main idea of reducing waste and doing this by better planning, better demand planning, optimizing supply chains, and so on and so forth. What Crisp realized and what we realized in many clients, retailers or CPGs, is that people today, with the buzz of AI, we all want to do AI. But there's this pre-step of, is your data ready for AI? And what it means is, do you have your pipelines ready? Is your data clean? Is your data coming in on schedule, on time, with the accuracy that you need? And even further than that, right? If you're a large CPG or even a retailer, even us today, we receive data from so many sources, from an abundance of sources. This data most of the times don't come what we call, let's say, harmonized or normalized, which means that you might receive data from different products and different stores, and you can't quite tell that they are the same. You might have difficulties in merging these things and analyzing in a standard way, in a uniform way. So what we propose, and the way that we start our work, right, is making sure the data is ready for AI, right? Is your data coming in a way that you can actually analyze it or not? And this is a big step, right, that we propose, and it was something that is fundamental for anyone that actually wants to go into the journey of AI, right? So what we propose is actually going to our clients and our customers, try to understand their data landscape and work with them to make the data actionable, to make the data ready for modeling, ready for AI.
Right. And how do you, what sources do you use and techniques do you use, I should say, to check out that data, make sure everything's good?
Yeah. So mainly the pipeline is going through, so we call the gates, the portals, right? The retailers give to CPG. So if you're a CPG, you have data coming from different retail sources. We propose this idea of harmonizing the data initially. So this basically means cleaning the data, making sure that this data is in accord, different sources can actually be linked together and you can actually do that properly. So that's step number one, right? Can you interpret several sources of data
right
in a similar way? And then it comes to the second piece that we'll call creating a semantic layer. And by that, it means different fields have to be business interpretable. It's very usual for you to receive data, and your data comes in with naming conventions that most of the times don't mean anything for a business person. So what we do is that we create this what we call the semantic layer that helps you translate that, let's say, abstract convention
Yes.
that sometimes comes in, which is something that is business readable, human readable.
I was going to say that's
impact.
That's got to be super important because, like you said, there's so many different ways, like literally text ways, like data comes in. I used to work with a long time ago Onyx, which was a platform for these eDocs that we're working with at Amazon. And the data we get for the publishers of these books and white papers was just madness. Yeah. It was this very interesting, almost like Unicode kind of, text. And we had to parse that or we wouldn't be able to sell product.
Exactly.
So it's just crazy. That's just one particular vendor, right? And you have lots of different
Exactly.
places.
My previous company, we had someone that used to joke that we didn't have a data ingestion problem. We had a data indigestion problem.
That's great.
We don't have a lack of data, and we don't have a
Yeah.
lack of data
It's like,
coming
oh,
in.
this data feels bad.
We just do not know what to do with this. All these things are coming up.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So that's kind of where we start our solution. Where we're doing now is to make the data accessible and useful. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. So when it comes to AI, obviously this is part of the AI podcast. What ways do you see Chris using AI to, do a lot of the same stuff that you're doing now? And is there something that you are about to get into with the AI in that kind of regard?
Yeah, I could also pose like two ways, right, of leveraging it. One, as a tech company, I think nowadays you can talk about AI as even internal usage of AI, developers being accelerated with the usage of AI. So inside the organization, we see that, right? We are more and more incentivizing the usage of AI assistants, right? And this accelerates a lot, particularly when you think about the principle of coming from a concept to a product, right? We can innovate way faster. And many tech companies are getting to that. And that's one aspect that I think is interesting to say, where now you can, even if you're not super technical, or if you have an idea, you can make that idea become a proof of concept very, very fast, right? And you can present that to clients and customers, and you can iterate on that idea very, very fast. So Crisp is leveraging this AI in this way. That's internal usage. And of course, the most important part is for external users, right? Now, when you come in and say, you clean my data, you organize my data, so now what you can do with it, right? And it comes in from, I would say, the more traditional solutions were extremely impactful of supply chain optimization. So how can we use AI to optimize our supply chain? This comes, for example, on demand forecasting, making better demand planning, optimizing your inventory, optimizing your ordering system if you're a retailer, right? How can you actually make this more active? It comes from ideas of there's simple things that sometimes we think about simple, for example, classifying a product. So if you have a new product that comes into your store, if you're a retailer or whatever, how do you classify this product? Like this product in which category in this store this product should be put on? There's usually a human that does that, right? But this is work that can be enhanced with AI, and AI read characteristics of this product and come up and say, okay, this product is better allocated to this category. This actually is a huge time saver. You can go into assortment optimization, right? Like now you have so much data about the store. You have store level real-time data that you can actually activate AI to understand what are the clients that goes to a store, what are the products that are selling the most, what are the products that's not selling well, and how can you actually optimize your assortment that you carry.
Yeah.
There are many ways, right? There are an idea also of using for flagging issues that you might have in your supply chain, right? So we talk a lot about, is a huge topic on shelf availability, for example, is a huge topic in every retailer to know, is your product going out of stock or not? And can you know when that happens real time, right?
Right. Real time being a huge part of that.
Huge part of that, right? So if you have daily or even hourly data that you're actually tracking inventory levels and say, okay, a certain product in a certain store flags to me that I have an issue, you can actually go and act real time, right? So those are many ways.
I think that brings up a good point of like a lot of people talk about AI right now, and we kind of demystify it sometimes on this podcast. When you think of all the data that you were just talking about and kind of the, flagging of what is this product and all that stuff, I always think about the old days where, I guess it's not too old days, but where you just had spreadsheets of all this, in columns, and you would sort. I remember I had to do some of this for some of my jobs where you did all that formulas in the cells. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And you have V final that merges.
That merges it all. And so, and that wasn't real time. We're talking about that was like we did a huge audit for whatever content, right? And so
Exactly.
this is what you're talking about a lot of times, again, to demystify. This is very helpful on a regular day-to-day basis for lots of companies. Like that just seems
Exactly.
like just extra work that you don't have to do.
Exactly. It's that there's this whole side of enhancing the work that everybody is doing, right? Accelerating, making people more powerful and more effective with the usage of AI. And I think that's the direction that we're all trying to go, right? How we actually facilitate the work, make people more productive with different tools that can perform a lot of the work, automate
Yeah,
and relieve the time for you to do more strategic work, right? Which is what everybody wants.
exactly. And creative work.
Exactly.
Yeah. I looked at a couple different examples from your website, a lot of really cool companies and just ideas, even like honey. Honey was one of the things that was like, do you know about honey? And you're like, you have all this data to like help people learn about, the benefits of honey. I mean, things like that I think are really important where it's like, where some companies aren't like gathering the data for like the good of mankind even. I feel like that's one of the things that maybe we didn't touch on, but it just seems like you're doing a lot of work in that way as well.
Yeah, a lot of that. I mean, there's a lot of the work. Like the fundamental principle that we have is we still work on this mindset of waste reduction, right? And there's a lot of that, right? Of the work that we're doing, and we say, oh, we want to optimize supply chains and so on. So of course, there's the benefit of the client, of course, right? There's profitability, there's losses that you want to avoid selling more, but there's also the question of waste, right? We do think a lot about this, how more optimum supply chains can minimize that, right? And there's this whole side of the work towards that direction, right? We had a recent acquisition recently that Chef Engine, which it specializes in optimizing ordering systems for retailers, right? Particularly the produce area, which is this spoilage is huge, right? You have a lot of losses there. How can we actually use AI and this rich data that we have to make sure that you have the right amount of inventory, you're not overstocking and then just dumping a lot of product, right? So all of this, there's an aspect of it that I think is gonna improve a lot moving forward.
So if we talk about the future, which is we're in the future, but maybe even like 5 years because it's moving so fast, what's something that you're excited about that's, you're not doing at Crisp, that's something that's outside of your company that is AI based that you're like, you look at that, you look at the news coming in from wherever and you go, man, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, there are many things. I mean, before I need to go a bit outside of the book, there's a lot of things that I'm very interested in the retail CPG world. There are things I'm very excited outside also, but I think it's going to influence, right?
Let's go outside. Let's go outside. I want to
Yeah,
see
you want to
outside.
go explore.
Yeah.
One area that I'm seeing a lot, right? You have big tech companies investing on this, is trying to fully understand how do you build AI in the same way that humans interact with the world. And what I mean by that is if you think about today how we're leveraging AI, most of it is through language, right? You have language models, the generative AI. I'm specifying that case, right? You talk to a chat bot, right? And you ingest data into the chat bot and it's learning from that. Sometimes images, right? Now we're starting to get to the point that you're putting images and so on and so forth. We as humans we interact with the world in a different way. We have tactile, right? There's a whole way that we function in the world that is not only through language and it's not only through, let's say, this more structured data. How do you get to a point that you're going to start to train artificial? You're going to first create a model of the world, and I'm a physicist by formation, so I'm very biased towards this topic, right? How can you actually start to translate the world in a certain way
Right.
into meaningful information that can now feed a model in artificial intelligence such that these models can start to learn more and more like we as humans do learn, right?
Yeah.
And I think once you get to this point, you're going to see a lot of use cases probably popping up, right? That we didn't even even think about it. So this is something that I personally find exciting. Right? If you go a bit outside of the box a little bit, I think there are big tech companies that are thinking about this problem, right? And I do find particularly interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's super important for all of the AI business at the end of the day, because it's that kind of goalpost. We just talked to Mark Cuban on the SKS summit as well, and he was talking about AI and how a little kid can figure out things much easier than an AI because it just understands the world around it. Like to your point, it's
Exactly.
like it's taking in, ingesting in all the stuff, and goes, "Oh, I spilled this. I shouldn't do this. I got yelled at for this." So, like, can we even ever do that? Really, truly, with the data set? We have Google building worlds. There's a bunch of different world type models happening right now. One that's I'm really excited about for video games, where you can like make the video game kind of world from it. But all that stuff again, I don't know. I'm on the question mark with that, because it is that real world practical application that humans go through, that unless it's an Android, because that's another answer.
And
The
that's
Android
another.
running around would probably figure that out, right?
There is another area, and that's the second point that I'm starting to see this more and more also. And again, when I say this, I'm starting to say I'm reading probably from the same sources that you're reading about, from other folks in the field of this merging of the AI that we are using right now, the generative AI that we are using today in our laptops, right, in our phones, and physical robots,
Yep.
right? Can you start to merge these two? Because the biggest advantage that we see today of these AI agents, right, and the language models is this versatility, right? It's able to follow unstructured paths that a traditional AI struggles, right? So you can write before generative AI, there was still AI, right? They're very good in solving structured problems. The generative AI is able to go a little bit outside of the box and finding different patterns and different ways to solve problems. Can you merge that now with a physical entity,
Yeah.
like you mentioned? I know it sounds a bit outside of the world, but like you can actually merge this with a physical entity. Then now you have both combined, right?
Yeah.
You have the ability to think more or less creative with the ability to actually interact with the external world, right? And I think we will start to see there's a lot of startups coming up in that field. I think you're going to start to see things like that.
Yeah, it's probably inevitable, and it's a double-edged sword, because we all know it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Um, but it's funny. Real quick side note is that I think it was Star Trek that came up with the idea of sliding doors, and it was just in like science fiction, and they were like, the door is open, just magically they just slide open, and they were like, then we were like, okay, we should make those. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I always think that like visualization is really a powerful tool where we go, well, what future do we want? Do we want robots walking around? Most of the time, people say yes, because that's in every single movie and book since
Yeah.
Asimov. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
maybe it's
And there are
inevitable.
practical use cases, right? I think we talk about this as I mean, if you talk about CPGs, right, and all the issues that I'm talking to you about retailer, right? If you're like flagging out of stocks and you're flagging all these things live, and you need to act on it, you can have probably in the future you're probably going to have a way to do it also, right, through AI, right, to actually
Yeah.
execute the
Well, yeah. I mean, not even just a lot of times we think of robots, we think of androids, we think of humanoid robots, but we're just talking
yeah
about robotic arms. We've already
yeah
done this on the spoon so much. We've been to all these different shows, and we see like a robot barista, but it's just the arm part, and it's
yeah
making great drinks. So there's a lot of in between there, and I'm sure that's what's coming up. Before we get going, I thought I'd bring up one cool new tool that, or online software that is AI based. And I just found out that they made, there's a company called Olama. Have you heard of it?
Old llama.
Olama. I think it might be the first, I might be wrong here, but it's a local LLM. So you can just download it.
Okay.
And so many, language models right now, large language models are online, either pay gated or just,
Yep.
some way, like there's a pro plan, there's always a pro plan. But Olam is, I think, maybe one of the first where you just download it, and it's open source in the fact that, yes, it's limited in the fact when you download it, that's all you got, right? You have all those parameters, but you can also just use it continuously. So I'm just wondering, what are our thoughts on local based AI stuff? Because I feel like I use it a lot for images and videos as well. Online is almost always better lots of times because it can be updated.
Yeah.
Back to your data set thing, when we talk about images and video, which I do a lot of, it is like imperative to have a good data set.
Yeah.
And each different software has different data sets. So you get different results, and you get like a character that doesn't look the same as the other character because of the data that was in. So yeah, what do we think about local? And is that the future, or is it, I don't know.
I think it could be, particularly concerns even around privacy and security are huge, right? In leveraging AI models, right? They're all external, right? And you have to access them, let's say, remote. I do think there's a future where these models are going to become efficient enough. You're going to have smaller models that can probably do well enough, and they can be hosted in a local setup that you can actually run them inside all your let's say security protocols, depending on what you have. Because we do see this, right? Even us, right, as individuals and companies, there's a lot of data that you potentially don't want to expose, right? Or you have concerns of exposing, and so on and so forth. So I do believe there's a future where this model is going to get to a point that even smaller models are more efficient. They can actually produce great results locally, and you have, let's say, ways to fine tune these models, right, yourself, and you can update them yourself. You can actually add, like we do today, right? You can add more information to it as it goes, and you can fine tune it. But I do think there's potential for a future in this way, right? And a lot of what I think about is particularly this area of security, depending on how much data you want to share to a third party, to external party, even though I know that those models there's a lot of security protocols around them already. But I see that this could start to become bigger, right?
Yeah, this could be the beginning of it. And I think to your point of like with the companies and just even the privacy around the data you have, the valuable data, right? So people's valuable data is not just privacy concern, but we're like, hey, this is our resource. This is our commodity. And we want to protect it, but we also want to like interact with it in an AI based way. So I feel like that is definitely something.
Yeah. And again, models today are pretty, I believe there's a lot of security around them already, right? Even the external, the third party ones. But for specific use cases, I can see some companies preferring to go to a local solution versus like a remote, a third party one.
Yeah. Well, Henrique, this has been fun. I'm excited to learn more about Crisp. Anything you want to plug about the company and where should people go to check it out?
Yeah, I think, again, any CPG retailer that is starting to go through this journey of AI, I think it's important to think about the steps, right? And step number one is get your data ready. Step number two is build your analytics layer, build your dashboards, a way to see your data visualizing. And then, of course, this last step of getting AI and advanced analytics on top of it. There's a proposal, right, that of Crisp, right, to get this end-to-end solution, get companies to maximize, let's say, the usage of their data. So this is what we do, or what we're good at.
And it sounds like a great solution. I mean, like you said, end to end is really important, especially in this like era of the next new thing. It's like great to have someone like you guys to be like, okay, we're going to take care of it from the beginning to the end of the scenario. So, Henrique, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.